Hello and welcome to the Gaggle Challenge, and if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Samuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, it's now Sunday, and as we foresaw yesterday when we did our emergency podcast to do our post-mortem on the meeting in Alaska, that there'd be some changes and kind of developments over the past 24 hours. And there have indeed been dramatic developments. We know that President Zelensky will be in Washington on Monday. What we learned over the past 24 hours that he will not be alone, but he will be accompanied by quite an entourage. The entirety of the coalition of the willing will be accompanying him to Washington. So it's going to be quite a spectacle in the White House. So there's obviously that. The next part, which is going to be really quite interesting developments, is everyone keeps talking about these security guarantees. What it is Trump supposedly has promised or has not promised, that's obviously up in the air.
Or what people claim that he
What they
promised.
claim, he hasn't said anything, but nonetheless, as we'll see, his various leaders, his various colleagues, are all claiming that they have heard from Trump, saying that, and the media have reported that Trump is engaged in that. But of course, it does raise interesting questions, which we can talk about. Is that what is the value of a security guarantee issued by the United States if it hasn't been ratified by the Senate? I mean, when we have the NATO guarantees, I mean, every time any country joins NATO, that has to be ratified by the Senate. Now, it's obvious, though, that presidents do make all sorts of commitments just off their own, off their own bat. Say, yeah, we'll do this. I mean, the commitments to Israel, I mean, the formal commitments to Israel, which were made in the 1970s, were kind of unilateral. The Senate never ratified them. But we also don't know what's the validity of them. I mean, what exactly is the
Well,
status
I mean, in the case
to Israel?
in the case of Israel, because it's a separate category always, is that no American president would really need
Right.
that kind of agreement. Okay,
Right.
so that's the exception always. But George, you're absolutely right. I mean. And then they'll say, "Well, if you can't do it, then it will allow them into NATO." See how they're always going to find a
Right.
way.
Right. No,
They're like a rat in a maze, and they want to find the cheese, and they're going to find every single way they can get there.
right.
I don't know, Judge. I mean, for me, it shows a remarkable lack of leadership. Okay, I mean, set the terms and conditions here. Look, the Europeans don't want an end of the conflict. And that's what I would say to Donald Trump. Why are you bringing these people here? They don't want an end to it. They want you to get deeper into it. So why are you bringing them to the White House? Okay. I mean, for goodness sake, why did you go to Anchorage then?
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, does Trump think through power of personality and persuasion, which didn't happen in Ankara, that he's going to be able to satisfy these rabid voices. And I don't think he will. And then we'll still get this ambiguity. Okay.
Right.
I don't, what I've been saying the last few days, we seem to be doing it every day now, is that individual states can make these kind of guarantees. Germany can make security guarantees with Ukraine. That's normal, nothing exceptional there. But I mean, there's only one vehicle available, and that's called NATO.
Right.
Okay.
No, that's it. Well, that has been now, taken off the table. Even NATO has taken it off the table. But they, of course, as NATO is wont, they are very cute at getting around that issue. So because it's pretty much even under Biden, the issue of Ukraine being in NATO was kind of put, well, let's put it on the back burner. Let's not talk about that. So that's what, so they say, oh, no, it's not going to be under NATO, but it's going to be by NATO through other means. And that's what they're trying to do is that, well, it's, yeah, NATO through other means. But of course, then that does raise the question that I just asked, which was that that requires Senate ratification. You can't just simply say, "Oh yeah, we're now committed, all for one and one for all, for Ukraine," without getting this past the Senate. I mean that's not. I mean even in the case of Israel, the commitment was only to always go on providing Israel with arms forever and ever and ever, whatever Israel wants. It was never really a formal commitment to go to war on Israel's behalf. And I guess the United States probably didn't think that there would be such a situation where it would have to go. Israel was just so much stronger than its neighbors that it wouldn't need the United States. But that's a very different situation from now. But it's kind of that you're absolutely right, though, that there is a lack of leadership here because they're all going to pile on in the Oval Office, a whole bunch of them, and Trump will be there kind of by himself. I mean, they're all going to be reading from the same script. Here's sort of a couple of news stories. On this summit. So here's, for instance, Ursula von der Leyen, who will be in Washington tomorrow. And she sent this tweet out earlier today. This afternoon, I will welcome Zelensky in Brussels. Together, we will participate in the coalition of the willing. Do you know what VTC is?
I was going to ask you, George.
Yeah.
Oh, that may be the catering company. I don't know. Okay.
At the request of President Zelensky, I will join the meeting with President Trump and other European leaders in the White House tomorrow. Are they all going to come by one plane, or are they all flying in, in separate?
I could make a very, very morbid joke, but I won't. Okay.
And then so Zelensky was in Brussels today, so they're all getting together, to put on a united front tomorrow. And so she met Zelensky in Brussels. She said, "Great to have you here, dear Zelensky. We continue our cooperation to achieve a just peace that respects Ukraine and Europe's vital security interests. With the coalition of the willing in Brussels today, and in the White House with POTUS tomorrow." So,
but to respect Ukraine and Europe's vital security interest, how is continuing this war in Europe's security interest? It's interesting. I had lunch with our very good friend Dmitry Babich, and Dima is a real linguist. He speaks Russian, German, Polish, Czech, French. Probably other languages. He is a real polyglot. And we were both joking, reading tweets like this. It's like we both asked, what language is this? I don't understand. It's so vacuous.
Right. But that's the thing with NATO. I mean, they're so mired now in this gibberish, this war is peace gibberish, this bombs for peace gibberish, that the fastest way to settle a conflict is by bombing. The more weapons we send to Ukraine, the faster this war will be settled. It's so ingrained in them that they're not able to speak in any coherent, in any human way, in any known human language.
AI is easier to understand.
AI is definitely, yes. And then here's the Washington Post story, which declares European leaders to join Trump-Zelensky meeting, presenting a united front. So European leaders will be there.
Yeah, but see, what this is that you'd think, George, that on Friday, after 6 months in office, Trump was finally getting a little bit of distance from this thing. It's just weighing on his presidency.
Right.
And just as, wow, it looks like I'm getting some distance. I have my own
Right.
policy. The Europeans have their own. And now, Monday, it goes all right back. George and I warned about this
Yeah.
yesterday.
Exactly. Exactly. This is even worse than we had
And
expected.
it's a lot worse, a lot
I
worse.
mean, they're all going to go there. It's like
Has von der Leyen ever been to the Oval Office? I don't think so. At
um,
least not in this presidency.
yeah, exactly. I think she's been, yeah, she definitely was there when Biden was president. But I don't think so, not with Trump. Um, and then Rutte, he too will be there. And Macron, obviously. Merz, obviously. Stubb, I think our Finnish friend Stubb will be there. I think they've left
He represents a subgroup of the coalition of the world.
exactly. And
What do you
Kirs,
think they drew straws on that one?
I
They
don't
drew
know.
straws.
I think for some reason, and I don't know what the origin of this, he seems to have a good relationship with Trump. I think he played golf with him down in Mar-a-Lago. I don't know how that came about, why he played golf with him, but I think that's how Stoop somehow has got in with this with the big boys. That apparently Trump likes him, and they want to bring somebody that
So
Trump
Merz said,
likes.
so let's get Alexander. Okay, he likes him. Okay, because I don't think Trump likes any of them.
I don't think so either. I really don't. Um, Zelensky is also traveling to Brussels, uh, and then um, and then we've got Politico. Zelensky enlists top European leaders for Monday's Trump talks.
I wonder if that's true. I wonder if it's actually the other way around.
I think so. I agree with you. I think it's the other way around. Like Zelensky doesn't call the shots.
No.
They're the ones who decided to do this. And then here's so who'll be there now? According to the Political, Washington Post didn't mention this, but here we've got von der Leyen, Merz, Macron, Starmer. Starmer wasn't mentioned in
He
the
wasn't there.
Washington Post stories, so I don't know. Um, and then um, and then he says that Giorgia Meloni is also planning to go. So that's up in the air whether Meloni will be there. Um, and then diplomats told Politico on Saturday that they expected European leaders to accompany Zelensky in a bid to ensure key red lines are not crossed and that Ukraine is not forced against its will to give up territory to secure a deal. And then following Monday's meeting in Washington, Trump said he would try to bring the Ukrainian and Russian leaders to work toward a peace agreement. Putin has so far rejected meeting with Zelensky, and he gave no indication on Friday he had changed that position.
Well, there is reporting that Trump is going to, or at least somebody in his orbit has proposed that there'll be a trilateral meeting on Friday.
Yes, I read that. I still don't think that that can happen unless there's
You
something.
don't? You don't think so?
I don't. I mean, it's in theory possible only if there's an agreement ready to be signed. I mean, if
Well,
there's
okay. Look. Okay, let's look at the first paragraph here. Diplomats told Politico on Saturday that they expected European leaders to accompany Zelensky in a bid to ensure red lines are not crossed. Who determines what the red lines are?
no,
Okay. This is why I said, where's the leadership?
right,
Where is the leadership?
right, right. No, that's right. But this is I mean, it's Trump has isn't really showing it. Trump's notion that somehow, if he agrees, um, that oh well, we Americans we won't directly send arms to Ukraine, but the Europeans can do it. They can buy it from us, and that's so we can then say, well, we're not really doing it. It's the Europeans doing it. That's not going to fly. That isn't going to fly. That notion that well, as long as America's not actually directly giving it to Ukraine, but it's going through a third party, namely the Europeans, and they're paying for it. That somehow provides any basis for an agreement with Putin. No, that isn't going to work. If any agreement has to be conditioned on there being no further arms being sent to Ukraine. I mean, that's just
Well,
I mean, if that's what Trump is thinking, I don't know if that is what he's thinking, but that isn't going to fly.
what's peculiar about this is these two paragraphs at least. and I assume it's the beginning of the article. It's it's as if the Ankara
Right,
summit didn't happen.
right,
That this is see that this is where we are. They are blocking reality.
right.
They're imposing their reality on the rest of us, as if what happened in Anchorage didn't happen at all. This is really
Right.
remarkable.
Yeah.
You would think they would be adding to it. That's what you usually do, don't
That's
you?
right.
Okay.
That's
But this is as if, and Trump has made it, I wouldn't say concretely clear, but I think we all came away with the assumption that there has to be a peace process before there can be a ceasefire.
yeah.
This doesn't assume that here.
No, no, not at all. That's right. And then Zelensky sent out a tweet. I had an important meeting with President of the European Commission, von der Leyen in Brussels. Significant support for Ukraine in the context of upcoming meeting with President Trump. So today, together and in several formats, we are determined. We are determining what we will discuss in Washington, D.C. It's crucial that Europe remains as united as it was in 2022. This unity helps bring a just peace closer, and it must remain strong.
Well,
Uh,
but Donald Trump is the host, so doesn't the host determine the agenda?
well,
What
in, in,
what
in,
is going on here?
in theory, that's right. Um,
And you would say, well, that isn't the case with a summit. No, that's why you have the summit, everyone.
right.
Okay. Is this a summit?
Well, look at the way it's going to go. I mean, who's going? We've got Merz, Macron, we've got Rutte, von der Leyen, Starmer, possibly Maloney, Zelensky. That's a whole bunch of people. It's a huge group of people that you're going to shove in there, all lined up against Trump, all basically telling Trump, "Hey, you got to keep this war going. Don't believe anything Putin says." That's which is what Macron said. Don't believe anything that Putin says. Um, anyway, so then Axios reporting Putin made maximalist claims to Ukrainian territory in Trump summit. The peace terms that Russian President Vladimir Putin laid out in a summit with President Trump included that Ukraine withdraw entirely from two of its eastern regions. Two sources briefed on the call told Axios. Why it matters, Trump will meet Ukrainian President Zelensky on Monday. He has told European leaders in a post-summit call that he wants to arrange a trilateral summit with Putin and Zelensky as soon as next Friday.
Right.
But based on Putin's conditions, a major breakthrough appears unlikely.
Okay, everyone, again, I don't want to belabor the point because George and I've talked about it so much. Don't be fooled by these territorial demands, okay? Obviously, this is part of what's going on, but it's not the big part. It's not the most important
No,
part.
no, I think that's right.
And they keep turning your attention
Well, no,
to
that's right.
this.
But it's well that the territorial, but also the security.
There you go.
But
Okay,
that's
yeah,
that's
that's
so
far
that's
more.
parts of it. So that's the first part. Okay, we got these territorial um, things. Now, interestingly enough, the when it comes to these coalition of the willing, they seem more flexible when it comes to territory. It's the security guarantees that they're absolutely demanding. That's the one that matters to them much more than this
Yeah,
territory.
and it's almost as if, yeah, give up the territories for security guarantee.
Exactly.
They don't say it exactly in
So
those terms,
that's the line that they're taking. You're
but
absolutely
that's their position.
exactly.
Yes, which is then this whole special military operation was for nothing.
Exactly. So Trump and his special envoy Steve Witkoff briefed Zelensky, blah blah. They said Putin had demanded that Ukraine cede two of the four regions to which Russia had laid claim, Donetsk and Lugansk, and freeze the front lines in the other two, Kherson and Zaporozhye. And then Putin presented his willingness to stop pushing forward in Kherson and Zaporozhye as a concession. in exchange for Ukraine withdrawing from Donetsk. And then a Ukrainian source said the U.S. side had the impression Putin was willing to negotiate over small slivers of the Sumy and Kharkov regions under Russian control. And there's Financial Times pretty much saying the same thing. Putin demanded Ukraine cede Donetsk and Lugansk in exchange for freezing rest of front line. The story has been around now long before the Alaska meeting. This was already Bloomberg reported it last week that this was supposed proposal. And then Putin demanded Ukraine withdraw from Donetsk and Lugansk. Russian leader made the request during his meeting with Trump. And then in exchange, Putin said he would freeze the front line in Kherson and Zaporozhye. But the Russian president is prepared to compromise on other issues, including territory, if he's satisfied that the root causes are addressed.
It's so condescending that they put that in quotes because there's no need for it to be in quotes.
Right.
Okay. Because if you were to in the totality
Right.
of all of the podcasts we have made about this conflict, it would be called root causes.
Yes, yes.
And it wouldn't be in quotation marks.
Right, right, yes. The funny thing was that the media were always saying, oh, this is all an excuse by Putin. Putin doesn't really care about NATO expansion. Interesting, I mean, how many times did Stoltenberg actually admit that that's what the core of this, the root causes was NATO expansion? Remember, I mean, when he made those quips, Mr. Putin wanted less NATO, now he's got more NATO. I mean, he thinks that's very cute, but you basically admitted what this war was about. And he's done it in a number of occasions. He has said that, boasting, hey, look what we did. Look at how, how omnipresent NATO has been in Ukraine. Anyway, and here's The Economist, which is what you would fear of a new Oval Office fiasco over Ukraine. Officials worried Trump backs the Kremlin's land grabs and fantasy.
I'm sorry, an evil thought just went through my mind. It's just like in Anchorage, Trump was starting to break from the outside induced Ukraine addiction, and now the pushers are coming back. No, take another dose. Come on, come on.
That's right.
That's what it feels, and it just feels like, this is like a mafia sit down,
Right.
Tony Soprano, where are you when Trump needs you? Okay.
Right. Throughout July, secret contacts between Ukraine and Russia had brought the two countries closer to an understanding of how the war could be frozen. Where did they get this from? They just put this there.
They're just on top. They're just on top of it, George. Yeah, because
Right.
if I haven't heard it and George hasn't heard it, then it
Right.
hasn't been said. Sorry.
The negotiations, as far as we know, were always about these very detailed things about prisoner of war swaps, swaps involving the wounded on both sides. I haven't heard that there was any discussions about how the war could be frozen. The subsequent talks.
To add to that, I apologize for the interruption. You have to remember that the Russian delegation went into these negotiations and in Istanbul as an extension or part of the greater negotiations that took place in 2022.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know what the secret contacts are.
Exactly. It's so secret, but you can't provide any source for this information. But of course, The Economist is very close to MI6. In fact, MI6 kind of runs The Economist. So this is stuff coming from MI6, which means disinformation. I mean, you don't want to believe anything MI6 says. Subsequent talks between Mr. Putin and Steve Witkoff created a series of impossible new territorial demands on Ukraine. How can they be these? It's the same thing. I mean, there's been no change. I mean, that's
What new territory?
the position.
What new? What's new? There's nothing new.
Exactly. I mean, all of it. Putin outlined all of this in June 2024. So there's nothing new in this at all. At the summit on Friday, Mr. Putin once again demanded that Ukraine retreat from the parts of Lugansk and Donetsk provinces that it still holds. How do you know all this? I mean, no one has said that Putin made those demands in Anchorage. I mean, no one has said anything about what actually transpired in that during that
That's
conversation.
what so many people lamented. Okay, so I guess the Economist has an inside track here.
Yes. Um, which together represent the most vulnerable. This would put Mr. Putin in a far stronger position to attack again in the future, should he choose to do so. In return, the Russian president offered to give back tiny chunks of occupied territory in Sumy and Kharkov provinces and to freeze the current lines in Zaporozhye in
Well,
Kherson.
the editor should have thrown it back to the writers of this. This would put Mr. Putin in a far stronger position to attack again in the future. Well, why would they want even consider attacking again in the future if they can get the job done now?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And then the Economist, like the Financial Times, they're just going crazy. The nightmare. Look at I love this headline, the lurid headline. The nightmare of a Trump Putin pact isn't over. Notice the Trump Putin pact, with the sort of everyone, the Hitler Stalin pact, that's
Yeah, yeah.
the
And
Trump.
showdown.
That's right.
Showdown.
The new Oval Office showdown with Zelensky looms after Alaska. The cliches are coming thick and fast now. You kind of, you sort of need a kind of a Harold Pinter type writer to really get a handle on these cliches. Um, it's possible that Mr. Zelensky could now be presented with an oven-ready deal agreed between Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin. If so, he will need to find a way to stand firm without enraging Mr. Trump again. This will be hard. It is politically impossible for Mr. Zelensky either to recognize Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territory that it now controls or to hand over additional ground. If Mr. Trump tries to push him into that, the result could be another explosion. Um, and then this is where Europe has a key role. After the Alaska summit, Mr. Trump spoke with European leaders and Mr. Zelensky for 1 hour in a call during which they emphasized that Ukraine must decide on territory and must get weapons supplies and security guarantees. In a statement, the European leaders declared, we will continue to strengthen sanctions and wider economic measures to put pressure on Russia's war economy until there's a just and lasting peace. Ukraine can count on our unwavering solidarity as we work towards peace that safeguards Ukraine's and Europe's vital security interests. All of which is just the absolute standard boilerplate. And we talked
Yeah.
about this yesterday. That's the statement that they issued. But it's a boilerplate, the same boilerplate, as if nothing has changed. There's evidence that Mr. Trump listens to Sir Keir Starmer, Friedrich Merz, Emmanuel Macron, and Alexander Stubb. So there.
Really? What, really? Really?
I don't know.
I don't think Trump could actually name them.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Also, I don't think he does. I don't think he does listen to them. I mean, I think
That's what I mean. Where is the evidence?
yeah. I mean, he sits. He politely sits there, um, but mostly he's just waiting to get so that he can get to speak again. I mean, that's all it is. He allows Starmer to speak, but he knows the next question will be thrown to him, and then he can talk to his heart's content. So their interventions over. I mean, Trump is very good at saying these are fantastic guys, but he says that about everyone. Everyone's a fantastic guy.
Even the former leader of Al Qaeda is
Yeah, yeah,
fantastic.
great guy. Yeah,
Big, tough neighborhood. He's a good
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
guy.
So their interventions over the next few days will carry some weight in.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah, yeah, steering him away from trying to impose a bad deal on Ukraine. There's little support in Congress or among the American public for full rehabilitation of Russia.
Well, no one's really asked the public about this.
That's right. I mean, that's exactly right. But no one has.
Well, I mean, again, I guess they're across the pond and all that. Um, I would remind this publication that the movement called MAGA, very close to the top of their list, was non-intervention in foreign wars and the end of the conflict in Ukraine. So I think there is evidence that the American
That's right.
public is
Now,
not interested
that's right.
in this
That's right.
conflict.
Now, when it comes to official Washington, the
Now
Washington
that's different.
Senate and the think tanks and the media, that's different. But in Europe and in the United States, that whole elite is completely cut off from the public. That's absolutely not where the public is.
It's the Annalena Baerbock doctrine.
Exactly.
I don't care what my voters
I
think.
don't care at all. Yes, and the voters don't really care about her, as they showed in the recent election, and the continuing decline of the Greens in the polls.
And Germany and Europe. Okay.
That's right, exactly. And so here is a Politico: Ukraine won't give up territory Russia hasn't captured. Zelensky says the contact line is the best line for negotiations. Ukrainian president said ahead of talks in Washington with Trump. So goes back to this absolutely the line of Zelensky, the line of the Europeans. Oh, we'll just have a ceasefire. And then once we've got the ceasefire, well, what's there to negotiate? We've got what we wanted. So
Exactly.
then we can just simply spin this out while we give Ukraine a nice breathing room and, send in or,
Yeah, like you send in the cockroaches, I mean
right.
that's exactly what they want to do. What I always find very curious, the ceasefire would work to the Russians' advantage because they'll have time, no, they're talking about themselves.
Right, exactly, and that's exactly what they're talking about, and they haven't really made any secret of it that they're going to make use of the ceasefire to replenish Ukraine's weaponry. Anything that's been destroyed, that's going to be replaced.
Well, also, I mean, I don't want to jump to the punchline too much here, but let's play a game of hypotheticals. If Trump gives into this, then he looks weak,
Yeah,
very, very weak.
right.
And if you're going to roll him on this, what else are you going to roll him on?
Yeah,
See, Trump, in letting this happen, I am just bewildered by this.
yeah.
Okay,
I am as well.
George, we both were in unison. Is that who knows what's going to happen in the next
Right,
24 hours? Well, we
right,
were right. Okay, because now Trump has put himself in a very precarious position, unless he just says, "Look, I've made it clear." You people, Politico, economists, you're all saying that I tend to agree with security guarantees for Ukraine. I never said
yeah,
that. Okay, he's got to use language like that. Does he have the wherewithal? Does he have the intellectual bandwidth?
right, right. No, 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 no. Well, he has intellectual bandwidth. I mean, he's a smart guy. He just doesn't have um, how one would say it. He doesn't quite have the attention span necessary for this. So he uh, therefore it's very easy to roll him. And so it's surprising for him to allow this to happen. I mean, I thought that what would happen would be, he meets Zelensky and then he'll have one of his phone calls. Everyone's on the line and they're going to have a chat. But this gathering will not will that won't look. I mean, Trump may feel he's very important. Look, all these important people have come to see me.
Exactly, exactly. It's like a big party. Be careful,
Yeah,
because these are vipers.
they are vipers here. Yeah. Ukraine is ready to talk about territorial changes as part of a peace agreement to end the Russian invasion, but Kiev won't give up land that Moscow's forces do not occupy, as Zelensky said on Sunday. We need real negotiations, which means they can start where the front line is now. The contact line is the best line for talking. So
Yeah,
basically,
but wouldn't the losing side say
right,
that?
exactly. And then Zelensky was speaking at a press conference with Ursula von der Leyen before flying to Washington for talks. And then here, Keir Starmer, he released a statement. So this is the Starmer from Downing Street, and says, and there he says, I welcome the openness of the United States, blah blah, to provide robust security guarantees. That is, they always put the to provide robust. Now there's a weasel way he said it, openness. He didn't say the United States has offered robust security guarantees. The openness of the United States alongside Europe to provide robust security guarantees to Ukraine as part of any deal. This is important progress and will be crucial in deterring Putin from coming back for more. So that's it. That basically think, okay, we will essentially have won the war. We will have got exactly what Russia was determined to
Yes.
prevent from
We
happening.
stared down the Russian bear and
That's right.
won.
Boom. We've essentially inducted Ukraine into NATO in all but name. In the meantime, until he stops his barbaric assault, we will keep tightening the screws on his war machine with even more sanctions, which have already had a punishing impact on the Russian economy and its people. Our unwavering support for Ukraine will continue as long as it takes. So that's Starmer issuing this statement on his way to talk with Trump, who seemingly was trying to get something, getting this thing settled in Anchorage just 48 hours ago. And here's the Telegraph. The British, we're ready. We're ready to put boots on the ground. Britain to put boots on the ground in Ukraine.
So AI is that advanced in the UK? Because that's what they would have to do. It would have to be robots. Okay. You couldn't put the British military into a small stadium right now.
Yes. Within a week of a ceasefire being declared, which is also strange because I thought we kind of Trump had said that that's not going to be our main priority. So, but they're all pretending as if Trump hadn't actually said that. We're still back on the ceasefire discussions, which is kind of what Zelensky was also saying there. So they're all just basically they're all talking among themselves, ignoring entirely what what went on in Anchorage.
I go back to this is just one group therapy session. I'm sorry.
Plans have been made for hundreds of British military trainers and engineers to enter the country if fighting pauses to help rebuild Ukraine's armed forces. Yeah, I mean,
They're also going to police the skies.
no, that's right. That's right. They're going to police the skies as well. Exactly. Um, so Keir Starmer was also signed off on the use of the Royal Air Force fighter jets to help police the skies over Ukraine with allies to ensure Russia does not breach.
Well, if you're policing, what do you? So you're, I guess, nominally speaking, looking for some criminals. Who are the criminals?
Right.
So,
That's
I
right.
mean, does that mean that the Ukrainians can fly, but the Russians can't? Or, what does this mean?
That's right. That's right. It's going to be
I'm sorry. This is a no-fly zone.
that's it's a no-fly zone. But of course, Keir Starmer knows very well that none of this can happen, unless the Americans are involved. He knows this perfectly well. The whole idea that Britain's just going to be doing this and that's all there is to it. Well, what happens when the Russians shoot one of these
Yeah.
aircraft out of the sky? Well, what are you going to do then?
Well, we're going into this very twilight zone um, uh, area. Is because what I think George would agree with me here is that they're going to suddenly say, "There's a ceasefire."
Right.
And without even conferring with the Russians or challenging they'll say it's just a ceasefire. It's already a ceasefire.
It's a ceasefire. Yes.
And we're going to start sending our planes in and
And
all.
we're putting those boots on the ground.
Because we unilaterally declare that
That's
there is a
It's a
ceasefire. This is
ceasefire.
the direction we're going in.
That's it. That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. And then Schmerz said in an interview with this ZDF, agreement worth more than a ceasefire. Merz is largely satisfied with the results of the Alaska summit, and blah blah. And then he says, they had succeeded very well in keeping the Europeans and Americans together. Not a single one of the 5 points we discussed was questioned by President Trump. Well, because he didn't pay any attention to those 5 points. And we talked about the 5 points the other day. Putting down all these conditions. There's five conditions for settling the conflict. In other words, it's basically the same. It's the same 5 points NATO has been repeating since February 2022. So, Trump didn't question it. Well, he didn't care. He wasn't interested in that. I mean, oh, well, he didn't question it. That means he agreed with it, which is that doesn't work like that. But then he says, furthermore, it is good news that the US is willing to participate in security guarantees for Ukraine and not leave this solely to the Europeans. But of course, the Europeans, for their part, must
How
contribute.
generous of him. It's so generous.
So that we
Because the Europeans couldn't do it. Okay.
that's what they're
That's why.
that's right. But that's what they're going to be repeating ad nauseum on Monday, which is security guarantees. What kind of security guarantees are you thinking of? I mean, what are you going to put in place there? You gotta let's put our plans. We got our military people. Let's work out the plans to put our security guarantees. And then this was the statement that we had yesterday. But what was interesting, and this was this was a statement, was worth looking at again. We are clear that Ukraine must have ironclad security guarantees to effectively defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We welcome President Trump's statement that the U.S. is prepared to give security guarantees. Boom. Coalition of the willing is ready to play its active role. No limitation should be placed on Ukraine's armed forces or on its cooperation with third countries. Russia cannot have a veto against Ukraine's pathway.
It just sounds like December
The whole thing,
2021.
just repeat all of that. Absolutely.
It's December 2021.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, it will be up to Ukraine to make decisions on its territory, international blah blah, and so on. So that was their statement. That's the line that they're going with. Macron, the same. Also, that's here. Any lasting peace must be accompanied by unwavering security guarantees. And then the Italian government issued a statement but this is very strange because this is
She's not president, is she?
Yeah, I guess what I mean, president of the Council of Ministers. So this says the Italian presidency of the Council of Ministers.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is a bad translation. Yeah. And she says the crucial issue remains security guarantees to prevent further Russian invasions. And this is the aspect where the most interesting developments were recorded in Anchorage. Only robust and credible guarantees in this regard can prevent new wars and aggression.
Well, if there was a peace agreement, then you wouldn't have to worry about any of these things.
Right.
Because if Ukraine is neutral, that would be giving it security guarantees, which Russia would be forthcoming, and European countries, maybe even the United States in some way. But see, they're just doing everything ass backwards. Sorry.
No, that's right. But doing this, of course, they are guaranteeing the failure of any possible negotiations. They know that this guarantees something. This what they call security guarantees would simply be unacceptable to Russia. I mean, that's the whole point. That's something, it goes back to everything that's been going on for 30 years. Which is Russia's objections to expansion of NATO. So if you put security guarantees, means essentially Russia would have to accept something that not only is it found unacceptable, but it's lost a lot of people, lost a lot of lives to ensure it doesn't happen. So now you think they're gonna, after losing so many lives, they're going to accept this? I mean, it's nuts. In this regard, President Trump today reiterated the Italian idea of security guarantees inspired by NATO's Article 5.
That's a very interesting phrase there. inspired by
That's
NATO's
right.
article.
Inspired. When did he also, when did Trump say that? I mean, they say, well, they kind of see they're putting these things out that this is going out into the public as if Trump reiterated. Trump when he's having these conversations, he often says things and pretending to agree with somebody or other. That's not his position. So whatever he said on that phone call with the Europeans, that isn't Trump's position.
Well,
Yeah,
but we don't. George is absolutely right on this. Is that what does he understand by security
that's
guarantees?
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Inspired by NATO's Article 5, the starting point of the proposal is the definition. This was Maloney came up with this baloney some time ago. Somehow we will give Ukraine this Article 5 guarantee without Ukraine being in NATO, which seems to have the worst of all possible worlds. I mean, it's just, but she seemed to think that this is a really good idea. So we have the guarantee is inspired by NATO's Article 5. The starting point of the proposal is the definition of collective security clause that would allow Ukraine to benefit from the support of all its partners, including the United States, ready to intervene if attacked again. So Ukraine gets it all for free. Oh, thank you very much. Well,
But that doesn't
very
mean
kind of
NATO
you,
membership.
Madam
That
Prime
doesn't
Minister.
mean NATO membership.
But no NATO. Oh, great. I mean, okay.
Oh no, 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 no. That's not no, no, no. That's not NATO membership.
That's not NATO membership. Um, so, yes, yes. European states remain united in supporting Ukraine at this stage of negotiations. The path to peace is not easy, but it's important that it has been undertaken. So that's good.
What negotiations, George?
That's right, exactly.
What are the negotiations?
Good.
These are ultimatums.
That's right. That's right. So she may or may not be. I would think she'll show up. I mean, I don't think she likes the idea of being excluded. I mean, if Stubb from tiny Finland can be there, I mean, it's a little bit much that the Italian prime minister doesn't get there. Besides, Trump probably likes it. He kind of likes having these women around. Um, and then we have this is Barron's, but this is an
I didn't know Barron's was still around.
no.
Okay.
It's very strange. It's you sometimes see it, but this is from AFP. And it says the U.S. has proposed Ukraine to be protected by NATO-style collective defense guarantee. Where's this coming from? Maloney? I mean, it's like, what's the source of this? U.S. has proposed Ukraine be protected by a NATO-style collective defense guarantee to allay fears of renewed Russian aggression in the event of a peace deal. So this is Italian premier and diplomatic sources said Saturday. So who are the diplomatic sources? Some Italian diplomat. The suggestion was raised during a call U.S. President Donald Trump held with Zelensky and other European leaders. And then it goes on. As one of the security guarantees for Ukraine, the American side proposed a non-NATO Article 5 type guarantee, supposedly agreed with Putin. Oh, Putin will agree with them. Oh, yeah, yeah.
What?
Diplomatic source told AFP. Yeah, I'm sure he agreed that this an Article 5 type.
So there's this saying, Vladimir Putin is essentially saying, just don't call it NATO and I'll agree.
And I'll go along with it. That's fine. Oh, it's okay by me. Article 5 is a cornerstone of NATO's Western military alliance, stating if one member is attacked, the entire alliance comes to its defense.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't, nobody ever reads. It's actually a very short
Yes.
charter, but nobody ever reads it. Kiev has long aspired to join NATO, and then instead, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has been pushing a proposal that would bring Ukraine under NATO's defense umbrella, even without becoming a member. An idea, she said, Trump raised in Saturday's call. She said that. Oh, that Trump said this. Trump was he was very open to it.
Okay, so let me get this straight here. So the Russians are supposed to accept that Ukraine be under NATO's defense umbrella, but without being a member of NATO. Come on. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Of course,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's right. It's very
It,
strange. I mean,
it, it also it also it really it says, George, and something worth repeating. It's not as if we don't know what the Russian position is.
no, no, no.
I mean, it's what was it? You said July of 2024, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, it's out there, everyone. It's easy to find.
yeah.
But this is just talking to themselves. Look, they're
Right.
not even, this is
But
not negotiations.
it's very strange because, according to all the reports, he spoke to the Europeans for half an hour. So he seems to have, an awful lot seemed to have been said during that 30 minutes. He said that he was open to this idea of Ukraine essentially being a member of NATO, um, but we won't call it that. So we provide NATO style guarantees. This isn't even, we're just going to do a kind of coalition of the willing. This is sort of essentially Ukraine will be in NATO, except we won't say that Ukraine is in NATO, and that'll
And
that'll
and
fool
and
the Russians.
that'll fool the Russians. And we're not saying it's in NATO, but it will be in NATO.
Yes,
And that means the Russians will not pursue its
yes,
objectives in Ukraine. That's a recipe for war
of course it is. Yeah, that's
on a
right.
huge scale.
And here's the New York Times thinks Ukraine weighs Trump's offer of security guarantees with caution. President Trump offers security guarantees to deter future Russian aggression, but the offer was vague, prompting Kiev to seek clarity. Well, it really is vague because he hasn't said it. He hasn't said this, as far as I know, he hasn't said in public anything that sounds as if he's offering security guarantees.
I
Um,
really wish, I don't think I've ever said this before, and I don't think I ever will again. I really would appreciate, Trump, if you would truth about this right now,
yes, that's right.
because people are saying
Right,
things that we don't know if you said.
right, exactly, exactly. Amid the setbacks for Ukraine from President Trump's meeting in Alaska, officials in Kiev found one glimmer of hope. They seized on a U.S. proposal to include security guarantees for Ukraine. They
Okay, they
started,
seized on a U.S. proposal. There's a number of scenarios here, George. Did someone say, Mr. President, would you consider security guarantees? Well, that's a thought. Well, we'll think about it. See, with the way
right,
they've
right,
constructed it in a
right.
completely different way.
Yeah, no, that's not,
I seriously doubt, given what Trump has said, he's never talked about security
no,
guarantees ever,
he's never talked about that.
ever.
That's the way Trump is when he talks. He says, "Yeah, that's a thought. Maybe." It's like when he said, Putin proposed next time in Moscow. Hey,
Yeah, that's a thought.
that's a
Yeah.
thought. I mean, he didn't rule it out, but it was nothing specific. It's like it's basically it's a version of let's do lunch sometime.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll give it a thought. Yeah.
Yes. But here the media present this as if he somehow has made this proposal. They're trying to trap Trump into making this a commitment, which is what they're going to do tomorrow at this when they're all going to gather at the Oval Office. Mr. Trump conveyed the proposal to President Zelensky in a call early Saturday after the meeting. It would enlist Kiev's Western partners to guarantee Ukraine's defense against new Russian attacks, according to a guarantee. Look at this guarantee Ukraine's defense. So that's a real strong thing. That's a serious military commitment that Trump would have made, military commitment that the United States has made to Ukraine. Guaranteed. And which means anytime anything goes wrong between Ukraine and Russia and the shooting starts and Ukraine cries, oh, we're under attack from Russia, and everybody else and all the Europeans say, yeah, Ukraine's under attack from Russia, the United States is supposed to get into a war.
And that's why it was said around the Anchorage, because you and I talked about it, summit, ceasefires can fall apart very easily and very
Very
quickly.
easily.
That's why you need a peace agreement before a ceasefire.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And this is guaranteeing the war will continue by saying,
Exactly. Once you've got a
well,
guarantee,
yeah, yeah.
boom, you
Somebody threw a
blank
stone
check.
across the street.
Right,
That's a violation. Okay.
right, exactly. That's the point. That's why you don't issue guarantees, precisely because you're giving somebody a blank check.
That's right.
And Mr. Merz and other European leaders were set to meet virtually on Sunday afternoon to discuss the aftermath of the Alaska summit, including potential security guarantees. In a show of support for Ukraine, the Chancellor and other European officials announced that they would join Mr. Zelensky when he meets with Mr. Trump on Monday. Um, while the specifics of the US proposal remain unclear. So you've been talking about these guarantees,
Look,
and
oh wow.
now it's unclear what the US
Clear my
proposal.
schedule. Clear my schedule, though the proposal remains unclear.
Mr. Trump said Mr. Putin agreed that Ukraine should have strong security.
Now it's strong
Right.
security guarantees.
When did he make this clear? I mean, this is what they're saying. Mr. Trump, we listened to Trump. He spoke for 4 minutes. That's all, 4 minutes. And after the meeting, then he went on to Hannity. He didn't say anything like this on Hannity, and then he sent out that truth about we're going for a comprehensive peace agreement, not a ceasefire. So when did he say that Ukraine should have strong security guarantees after settlement? Well, that's what the Europeans are saying. But that's the point. It's in their interest. They have a vested interest in putting out this particular story. Just as back in May, they had a vested interest in claiming, yeah, Trump agrees with us that if Putin doesn't agree to a unconditional ceasefire, he's going to impose sanctions on Russia. They said that even Trump himself had never said that. Um, and it says so. You blah blah. He said, yeah, unclear. Mr. Trump said Mr. Putin agreed that Ukraine should have strong security guarantees after settlement. They're not under NATO.
Then
Two
under
senior
what?
European officials who were briefed on the call have said American troops might participate. Mr. Trump told the Europeans, "Oh, nice, American troops will be on Ukraine soil, as guarantors." Yeah. Um, and then as time goes on, Mr. Maloney said that Mr. Trump, in his call with Mr. Zelensky, had drawn on her early idea of the Article 5, um, which stipulates an attack on one ally would be defended as an attack on all. While Ukraine would not join NATO under such guarantees, its Western allies would abide by a collective security clause that would allow Ukraine to benefit from the support of all its partners, including the United States, ready to take action if it is attacked again. That is such a wonderful deal. Imagine you're getting all this, and you're not even a member of it, so you don't actually
Well,
even
I
have to
mean,
contribute anything.
also, there's a chronology problem here and there's a causality problem here. Just look at that. Ready to take action if it is attacked again. So you're saying something is over and something different could
Right.
start? I mean, the Russians don't look at it that way at all. Okay. In lieu of a comprehensive peace agreement, the war will continue. I mean, what is she talking about? Ready to take action if it is attacked again. That's assuming that there is a ceasefire
Right. Right.
of some sort.
Right.
I can't make
No,
heads or
you
tails.
can't, and that's the point. There can't be any kind of a peace agreement. There can't be, any attempt to address the root causes if this is the plan. I mean, if that's what you're planning on, essentially making Ukraine a de facto member of NATO, then there's not going to be any kind of an agreement. I mean, that's the whole point. It's an obvious contradiction in terms that the Russians are just going to accept that. And then they said, okay, great. Now, if Russia attacks, then we've got NATO's on hand. I mean, it's an absurdity, and you have to think that they know it's an absurdity. They know that this is just that this will be rejected by the Russians, and in which case there won't be any kind of an agreement. The idea, while appealing to the Ukrainians, has left them questioning its viability. Given Russia's strong opposition to Ukraine joining NATO and receiving the defense guarantees enshrined in Article 5, why would it agree to see Kiev benefit from these guarantees in all but name? That's a very good question. It's good. It's good. Exactly. Why would it do it? And if Moscow agreed to strong security guarantees outside of NATO, as suggested by Mr. Trump, would that imply it considers those guarantees ineffective without the alliance's backing and therefore not a real deterrent? So, I mean, it kind of says, yeah, I mean, either you've got it's going to be NATO in all but name, and the Russia's not going to accept that, or it's just going to be completely meaningless verbiage, in which case it's not a security guarantee at all.
No.
And then, oh, I thought we would have
I,
a little
I,
bit of,
I knew you wouldn't forget her, George.
yeah, I thought we'd have a little bit of fun. Kaya Kallas has also been, doing a furious tweets. She hasn't been invited, as far as I can see.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, as
Okay.
far as I know, she won't be there.
It could have been, have no inside information here. It could have been a slight compromise. You can come, but you got to bring your own chair.
And it's going to be the Oval Office isn't that big, and you're gonna
Yeah.
that you may have to stand
I
outside.
think all of them are bigger than little Marco. So that's going to be a tight couch.
It's going to be
Okay.
it is going to be quite tight.
God, could you imagine the seating order? I hope JD's there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good question. I mean, is this really all going to be in the Oval Office? It isn't a
I
very
got
big
I got to
room.
think there could be International House of Pancakes across the street. IHOP. I don't think it's called IHOP anymore. I think they changed the name.
Is it like, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
President Trump's resolve to get a peace deal is vital. The EU and our European partners worked to coordinate with President Trump ahead of Alaska meeting, but the harsh reality, Russia has no intention of ending this war anytime soon.
Oh, come on. European work to coordinate with. I don't know. I don't think so.
I love the way they're all talking about negotiations, coordination. You haven't done any. There's been no negotiation, no coordination, nothing. They've sort of been forced into this by Trump, and now they're all pretending as if they're really, really very much into the negotiation.
This is one of the huge downsides of something like Twitter because you can give the illusion that you're doing something.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, let's say has no intention of ending this war anytime soon.
And well, does the EU want to end this war anytime soon?
Exactly, exactly. And then she went on.
Oh God, she had time on her
She didn't
hands.
stop. Even as delegations met, Russia launched new attacks on Ukraine.
And Ukraine wasn't attacking Russian
No,
cities at the
no, no,
same
no,
time?
no, no, no.
That's one of the things that really pisses me off, to be honest with you. That I read that every single day of the Rostov, other places that are, but on the places like that have been attacked. It never makes it into the Western
No,
news.
no. But Kaya Kallas is such a nutcase. I mean, she's really extreme, even by EU standards, which makes her appointment as EU's foreign minister all the more disgraceful. That's the image the EU wants to present to the world, having her as the chief foreign policy person. Putin continues to drag out negotiations. I mean, but
No, it hasn't any real
there
negotiation.
haven't been any negotiations, and Kaya Kallas has been against any negotiations and hopes he gets away with it. He left Anchorage without making any commitments to end the killing.
He did make a commitment to a peace process.
That's right. The US holds the power to force Russia to negotiate seriously.
Really? Can you give me evidence? Then why hasn't it done it?
Yes. Well, she just thinks the US has been giving, I mean, look, I mean, I'm sure if if you talked in private, she wants the U.S. to threaten war against Russia. I mean, I think that probably that's what she has in
Yeah.
mind.
Go to war. I'll hold your beer. Okay, promise.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. Let me hold your jacket. Um, so the EU will work with Ukraine and the US so that Russia's aggression does not succeed and that any peace is sustainable. Moscow won't end the war until it realizes it can't continue. So Europe will continue to back Ukraine, including by working on a 19th Russia sanctions package.
Well, if the first 18 didn't work, maybe you should reconsider
Yeah,
your strategy.
19 usually does the job. It's a prime number, and prime numbers are always kind of very interesting. Um, but it's very interesting. She sends these tweets out almost as if nothing has happened. I mean, it's like it's apropos of nothing really. And
She's
she hasn't
trying to,
stopped.
she just wants to remind everyone that
That
she's so forgettable.
she exists. European security is not up for negotiation.
Um, yes, it is. And there's a long tradition of European security up for negotiation. George and I did a very lengthy podcast on the entire Helsinki process. So it is up to negotiation.
Yeah,
There's a long-standing history of it being up for negotiation. This is a nitwit.
she's in it with. Everybody's security is up for negotiation. That's the whole point.
That's the
Because
whole point.
yeah, because you can't have security for one, but not insecurity for the other. I mean, it's like that's why you have to negotiate. Um, the real root cause of the war is Russia's imperialist foreign policy.
Well, wouldn't you say NATO is imperialist then?
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
because it's expansionary.
Yes,
Okay. What I mean, what did Russia move up to NATO or did NATO move up to Russia?
that's right.
Who's expanding?
Yes. Big mistake, really, letting the Baltic states go in 1991. I mean, it was was never a good idea. It was always going to be a problem.
Look,
Uh,
no, George, if they wanted to go their own way, declare neutrality, and then no one would bother them. No one would even care about them. But no, look at the Baltic republics. I dare anyone go through the officialdom of these three governments and their parliaments, and how many of them have Western passports?
yes.
Okay.
But you see what
I
you
mean,
just
I
said.
think it was in Lithuania, and a couple of times they had to give exemptions to American citizens to be
Yes.
president of another country.
Right. Right. Yeah. But what you said is key. If you go your own way, then you have to kind of make some commitments, which would be that you're going to maintain independence. You will not allow your territory to be used by the armed forces of any other state, and therefore you will have neutrality. You will pursue a foreign policy of neutrality by not really insisting upon any of these conditions. But even if they'd insisted, probably that wouldn't be terribly effective. But the fact was that the Baltic states, and essentially Baltic states, bring them into NATO, and given how rabidly hostile they are to Russia, this a serious problem for Russia. It was obvious even back in the 90s that this was going to be a serious problem for Russia. I mean, these places are just a few miles from St. Petersburg. I mean, you're talking about just across the water from St. Petersburg, and they're in a hostile military alliance. It's a serious blow, geopolitical blow to Russia. Um, and they're all like that. They're all, Kaya Kallas isn't more extreme than anyone else in Estonia.
Well, she's just more, in their opinion, more photogenic. That's
Exactly.
all. That's it. I'm
I
I'm,
think
I'm
that's
sorry if that sounds sexist.
no,
Okay,
but I think
no, she's a pretty
she is
blonde
pretty. Yeah,
face. Okay, that's
exactly.
it.
No question. I think
She has no aptitude for
no,
this whatsoever.
no.
I mean, at least Joseph Borrell entertained us.
No, I think so. Yeah, no, I think absolutely. That's what it is about Kaya Kallas. She's nice to look at. And and I think that it gives the EU a kind of a
Uh,
photogenic appearance.
yeah, but see, that's all it is. It's all veneer.
Yeah.
Look, George, everybody. George has put a lot of work into this. Okay, a lot of time. What was it? 44 slides. I always take a peek.
I
Okay,
know your heart sinks when you look at them.
yeah, I just like, okay, here we go. All right. I know a lot of them are tweets, so that means it goes quickly. Okay. But, you know, but that's really what this is. I mean, this in lieu of a coherent strategy, we get tweets.
Yeah, that's right. It's exactly right. And this was this was Trump's this was everybody had ignored what he had said in that truth that he
All right,
sent
George,
out.
I to belabor the point, I would appreciate for the record, please go back to it for the record.
Okay.
The
Yep.
record.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
think it's a good way to wrap this.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me.
All
Can you
right.
see it or no,
I can't see it. Okay.
you can or can't?
I can't.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it, but I just
All right,
wanted.
I'm going to take your word for it. This is the honor system. How many times is security guarantees mentioned? Go ahead. Can you take a quick?
Exactly. That's it. That's right. So here we have. Let's look. A great and very successful day in Alaska. The meeting with President Vladimir Putin of Russia went very well, as did a late night phone call with President Zelensky of Ukraine and various European leaders, including the highly respected. You always wonder when Trump says this whether is he being sarcastic? Because anybody else would, if somebody said that, you say, okay, you're being sarcastic. That you don't really mean this. Highly respected, highly respected. It was determined by all. It really wasn't, but he's just saying that it was determined by all that the best way to end the horrific war between Russia and Ukraine is to go directly to a peace agreement, which would end the war, and not a mere ceasefire agreement, which oftentimes do not hold up. President Zelensky will be coming to DC, the Oval Office, on Monday afternoon. If all works out, we will then schedule a meeting with President Putin. Potentially millions of people's lives will be saved. And thank you for your attention to the matter. Now, I don't remember, I mean, we've now gone through this, and I don't see security guarantee here. There's no security guarantee. He also says here, which not one of these characters that we've quoted said a peace agreement. The peace agreement precedes a ceasefire agreement. None of them, they haven't said that. That's not what they're saying. Oh, ceasefire, ceasefire, we've got a ceasefire. And then, like the British said, the moment we have a ceasefire, we're going to put boots on the ground. So they're all just want to have the ceasefire. And then after the ceasefire, we put the boots on the ground and we get the security guarantees.
Yep. So what has happened? What I think it's fair to say that this has just been another vast fraud being perpetrated on the public because George gave a very good overview of what is being said, okay, in the establishment legacy media. Has no reflection on what Trump has said
No,
in his social media and
no,
what the White House has said since.
no.
So this is an op. This is a psych op. This is a way to roll him in
Yeah,
the public.
yeah.
Okay,
I think that's right.
but it's not based in reality. Now, maybe Trump said all of these things. Okay, we've done a pretty good job in trying to discover where that could have been. We don't see it. There's no
No,
evidence for it.
and that's it, because the only source for this, so he's having a phone call. Obviously, the European leaders who are, this is the coalition of the willing. So, what does a coalition of the willing mean? Willing to do what? Willing to
Okay.
continue this war. That's what it means. Willing to continue. So they want to make sure the war goes on, and presumably maybe there are others who are on the call. I mean, who are talking to the media. Sebastian Gorka, perhaps. So they are the ones who are putting out this story, and essentially, as you said, to trap Trump into this commitment. So yeah. So he's talked about security guarantees, something he's never talked about before. He has never suggested that the United States is going to take on a security guarantee for Ukraine against Russia. I mean, it's the very last thing that he would want to do, which is commit to a war with Russia.
What is the scene? It came from The Godfather, but The Sopranos reenacted it or retold the story. Just as I was trying to get
Yeah,
away,
yeah,
and
that's
it
yeah,
pulled me
that's right.
back.
Just when I thought I was out,
Just,
it pulled
just
me
when I
back
thought I
in.
was out. Okay.
That was in Godfather 3. Yeah.
Godfather 3. Okay. But The Sopranos did a good rendition of it, or at
Yes.
least
Yeah,
retelling of
that's
it
right.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I'm not surprised all this is going on. As we do our 24-hour intervals of this podcast, um, uh, I would be flabbergasted if Trump gets rolled on this here. Like I said, he's just getting out of their clutches.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And I asked George very poignantly yesterday, I asked him, does Trump understand the Russian framing of the conflict? And we got the impression that maybe he doesn't really totally comprehend it, but he sees, I see where they're going. I see how they are thinking about this. He wouldn't have put that into his truth if he
Right.
hadn't.
Right.
Okay. So, what I would like to see is George should print out all of the slides, FedEx it to the White House, put it in front of Trump, and he's going to go through each one of them and read it, and then
Right.
um, um, crunch it up into a ball and throw. I didn't say that. Go to the next one.
Right.
I didn't say that.
That's right.
Next one.
Right.
Okay. Metaphorically, he should do that because yeah, because I think he has such low opinions of these people. I mean, he believes that he is this giant among men, and
Pygmies. Yeah.
these are like pygmy men.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is he going to make a spectacle of it? We'll see. I mean, I think I can speak for George here. None of these people impress me at
No,
all.
no, not at all. So the question then arises, and um, let me think. What do you think? Why did he agree to have them all
Okay.
troop into the White House
No,
tomorrow?
you're better at the okay. Your question is better than my answer ever could be.
Okay.
Maybe hubris, George.
Mm,
It's the spectacle. He's at the center. Other things are not being talked about. He's a showman. Okay, I think that this does play to his weaknesses. Okay, his vanity. All
right.
right. And if I gave him private counsel, say, look, you're on a high.
Right.
The MAGA would say, see, I told you.
Right.
See, I told you. And you're going to get back in the mud with these people? Why? This
Right.
is an unforced error.
Right. Now, I would imagine what's going to happen is, he's very good at parrying things. That basic, he'll ramble, the way he usually does, but say nothing. I think, they'll be talking about security guarantees and backstops and everything else, and he'll just sort of, yeah, 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 yeah. Um,
That's why we need a peace agreement.
that's right, exactly. So maybe that's what he's thinking. Okay, I mean, I'm sure that they put this to him, and then the guest list just kept expanding. First it was probably, I don't know where, but Ursula von der Leyen suggested, "Oh, I'll come." Okay, fine. And then somebody, Macron said, "Yeah, I'd like to, toddle along as well." And then Starmer and Maloney.
Like a big school bus.
Exactly. And Trump will say, yeah, but, I'm sorry, but White House catering, it's going to be an early closing tomorrow. I'm not sure. We're not going to provide sandwiches and alcoholic
It's a
beverages.
brown bag it if you want. Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Brown bag it.
No,
um,
he never ends surprising me. Okay, because I would have thought take the win as he understands it. Always have to say that as he understands it, because one would assume. and I think correctly assume that he doesn't want this at the center of his
I
presidency.
don't
He's
think so.
bringing it back into the center.
Yeah.
That for me, that's inexplicable.
Yeah.
Or I would even say, look, I mean, if just send your deputy foreign ministers and Marco will take care
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I think that it is bringing it back in the center, particularly after the meeting in Anchorage and then after, his conversation with Hannity, in which he really did seem to say, yeah, we're really close to the end. And then, you're going to go back on this. That means I said, well, this is just going on and on. This is just going to, you're going to be stuck with this through your presidency, and therefore it'll be up to somebody else who comes after you to bring it to some kind of a conclusion, and that's not going to be good for you. That you basically for all your talk that you're the peacemaker, the deal maker, and everyone you failed. You had an opportunity and you failed. So,
Particularly since Ankara could have, that was that. When you think of, um, the two land masses, it was actually even a good visual, like a split. Okay, we've broken this log jam,
right.
and he seems to. Again, I mean, you're probably right, George. He'll say, "Yeah, I agree, and I agree." And that's why we need a peace conference, and then we'll have a ceasefire. Thank you, everybody, for coming by. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Free drinks, no alcohol in the
No,
foyer around the corner.
it's a cash bar today.
That's a cash bar, okay? What we're trying to say, who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we're going to cover it tomorrow. I guess not sure what time it's going to be. Probably around the time we'll be doing our live stream.
I'll
So
have a second computer ready for updates. Okay. So, all right, everybody. Again, George put a lot. This is Sunday after all. Okay, it's Sunday. A lot of you, went out and had, gins and tonics and out there in the sun and, looking at pretty girls, and George was working. He was
exactly.
working.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I'm still impaired, but I had a wonderful lunch with Dmitry Babich. It was a lot of fun at my favorite restaurant. We had pepper pasta. Oh, unbelievable. But George had his nose to the grindstone. Okay, burning the midnight oil in the
Burning the
afternoon.
midnight oil, exactly. And now Buddy's going to come along and say, no, he did all the work. No, that wasn't him. I did it all.
Well, he supervised George.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. It's all me. I won't have anyone stealing my glory. But whoever did it, that tip jar needs to be filled. I mean, it just there needs to be some remuneration, as Buddy would put it. So if you have anything lying around, any cash, coins, gold's even better, bullion, straight into the tip jar. So we're doing the live stream tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time, and then on Tuesday I'm doing my solo 3 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye bye.